We are back recording live at Advancing Prefab and sitting down with Sara Curry of J.E. Dunn. So Sara, tell us a little bit kind of about yourself and how you wound up here at Advancing Prefab.
Sure. So Sara Curry, I am J.E. Dunn's Prefabrication Integration Director. That's a really long title I wear a lot of different hats now, but my background is I came from the design side, fresh out of school, and did work for a couple of architecture firms, and then about 11 years ago switched to construction, and started in our virtual design and construction department, and basically learned how a building goes together in a virtual world, because coming from the design, I had designed it for so many different market sectors for so many years. And moving over and understanding constructability was really enticing to me.
Yeah.
And so, but prefabrication actually started on the design side. So I tell people my first prefab job was like in 2010. So when I switched,
welcome to the club now, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, this isn't new, guys. This is not a new way of doing things.
Yep.
It's just we're hearing more about it now. And back in 2010, it was all multi-trade. Like the modular companies were just getting off the ground, and we didn't really see those entities on projects like we do now. Full-on volumetric was just a pie in the sky from where I stood. And then now, about a year ago, I switched over to concentrate solely on prefabrication. And so now mainly looking at driving consistency with our organization, looking at what's the next thing coming down the pipeline, helping our teams really learn from each other, because we've got a lot of really great stuff going on across the country, and not everybody's aware, because J.E. Dunn has 25 offices. I mean, we're big, and not everybody knows what everybody else is doing. So being able to bridge that gap is super important. And then also working with our designers and our owners. Like I've got several of those that, because I kind of speak both languages from design and construction, bridging that gap with our designers and helping them understand what we really want to accomplish has been a big focus of mine. But it's exciting right now. We're busy, but it's never the same thing every day. I'm not making widgets every day. I'm looking more big scale. And so it's fun. It's actually exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before we really dive into all things prefab and modular and all that stuff, how does a design person come to the dark side 11 years ago into construction?
I see it as the light, not the dark. If you got to look at it which way you
there
spin
you go.
Silver lining. So when I was on the design side, I really wanted to grasp the experience of the construction administration, and unfortunately the way that the teams were set up, I was heavy with the models and training the people with utilization of Revit, getting standards, and sometimes it sucks when you're good at things because they pigeonhole you. I'm not gonna lie, but it definitely was an opportunity that I'm like, if I can't get this on the design side, then I'm just going to go work for a construction company, and I'm going to get that experience. I liked being in the field. I liked visiting the job sites, the ones that I could, but I felt like I was limited to my exposure on the design side. So I just made the transition and took the leap of faith, and I'm not going to lie, it was tough. That first year, holy cow, I was like, what did I just do? There's a huge learning curve changing.
What do you think was the biggest unseen adjustment?
Understanding the business practice, because architecture firms are ran different than construction companies, and understanding all of the things that go into building a job, from the pursuit to the pre-con to the actual execution of the job, and even the closeout, and moving into a different mindset of understanding, hey, what do your trades need to be doing, and that moving into a virtual design and construction world, it was very different than just production and creation of drawings. But what I think it made me appreciate the design better, and it helps with keeping design intent when coordinating a building. I think that's something that I would always bring up in my coordination meetings with my trades. It's like, hey, that pipe is running outside the wall. I know it might be an industrial look, but I don't think the architect intended for that pipe to be there.
Right.
And so we made it fun. Like my coordination meetings were fun.
Yeah.
And so everybody got a good kick out of it. But I had everybody's best interest at heart. So but I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that's a key. You said you have everybody's best interest at heart, and then communicating that and getting everybody to realize that you have everybody's best interest at heart, because that doesn't always happen.
No.
In coordination meetings.
No, not at all.
Very rarely probably happens.
Right.
So your ability to come from the design world into the construction, see kind of both sides of that, I'm sure that has helped you a lot in those coordination meetings.
It has, and also even now with my role now, it's like when we go into a project and we start talking about prefab and designing for prefab, it's like I had this conversation with some folks last night. We're not putting design on the we're not going to lose the design intent. We're not going to sacrifice our design. The way that things are right now, we can still modularize, we can still panelize, we can still do assemblies, and we can still achieve the beautiful designs that our architects want. And I think that sometimes that gets lost. Here's an example. I live in Dallas. So DFW Terminal C, they did those modular gates. You go in there, you can't tell. Yeah. They're beautiful. They did a fantastic job with that effort. That was not one of our jobs, but I applaud the contractor and the designers who did that. It's beautiful. And so that's one of my examples of you can still achieve this.
Right.
Don't feel like you're going to get, it's going to look like a modular job trailer. That's not what we're trying to do. We just need to be able to be smarter with the way we build.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's still a lot of head trash out there on when you hear the word modular, people think those super ugly cement blocks, and they're like, I don't want to do that at all.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of get over that hurdle. I think that's a great example.
Yeah, it's and I try to find those little snippets of wins where people have been successful and try to relay those forward, whether they're JE Done jobs or not. I still, we're all on the same team, and that's for building buildings and trying to achieve getting our owners what they want. And I don't think any person you talk to that's at this conference was going to say anything different.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to tap in on the breaking down the silos that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So how do you realistically go about that? Of even within a company as big as JE Done, how do you break down those silos from the different offices to the different stakeholders to really get the right people in the room at the right time, talking about the right conversation, having everybody's best interest at heart?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's not easy. But the advice that I was given when I first started, even in the VDC world, people were very hesitant about using VDC or BIM on their projects from an internal standpoint. But I think you have to be able to talk about trust. You have to be able to let people know that it's going to be okay. And not every job is going to be perfect, and you're not. And I had a workshop yesterday, and people were asking me about how do you make a prefab plan, and how do you get all those people, those right people, making the right decisions in the right room. There's no secret answer. It's every team is so different that you have to course correct to try to get the best outcome in the situation.
Yeah.
And so it really drives its behaviors and communication. But
it's soft skills.
It's soft skills, 100%. I can share all of my tips and tricks and my checklists and my quality things with anybody at this conference, but it's the behaviors of how you take it and then how you execute with that.
Yeah. So how do you handle the change management around that? Because construction obviously isn't traditionally known for being super open to soft skills and having those conversations.
Yeah.
How do you kind of help change some of that mindset?
So I'll just use some examples of some jobs where we've been successful or we've compromised. Utilizing last planner system or pull planning during design and having those big room type setup of meetings with a team early on is super helpful with communicating everybody's needs and timing of needs. So like the last one that I was a part of, we were doing a pull plan for the design phase. We also were sprinkling in the BIM coordination as well as the prefabrication planning and also long lead items like switchgear. Holy cow, like it almost takes a year to get electrical switchgear right now. So having that and having everybody being open to sharing what they need when they need it in order for it to show up at the job site or show up at the warehouse or anything that, or meeting with AHJs, permit approval, like having that all in one place and everybody working together to understand the big picture, I think is a huge win, and we should do more of that.
Yeah. Do you feel like the snowball kind of picks up momentum, even internally, the more you do it and the more people kind of get experience with it, or is it truly every single project you have to kind of start at ground zero?
So it's kind of a little of both. Fortunately, we've got some teams that it's kind of, how is it put to me? You concentrate on the people who want to execute and want to adopt. Yeah. And then those people then will move to other jobs. And then they're your leaders and your early adopters. It's the adoption curve. And then they get the rest of their new teams on board. And then they move to the next jobs. And then it starts to spread. And it's contagious. There's always going to be a naysayer on every job. It never, and all the projects I've worked on, there's always one.
Well, where would be the fun if you didn't have that, right?
Right. But what I tell them, and I look at them and I'm like, hey, give me one job. Just give me one job. I promise you it'll be okay. And I've had multiple, I've got text messages on my phone from people that have watched a multi-trade rack go in, and they're like, holy cow, why don't we do more of this? And it's like seeing is believing. And until you experience it, you might be a naysayer. But that adoption, it's just going to take time. And, some people may never get there, and that's okay. But in the words of one of my old companies is, either you get on the train or you're going to get left behind. And that's where we're headed.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the big challenge that's out in front of people, is that this, as Amy says a lot of times, we're already running the race, and if you don't realize that you're in the race and running, then you've already lost.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Get in.
Yeah.
So I think it's coming more and more. I feel like that momentum and that steam and excitement. Obviously we're in a bit of a bubble here at an event like this that everybody's already bought into. They're running the race too, but I think even outside, you're able to see that.
Well, just in the keynote with Amy kicking off, she asked how many people is this their first time here? Yeah. And there was a lot of new people here. Yeah. Like it looked
like about a third.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
Huge. Yeah. And I think this is my 5th year at this conference, and so it's been nice to see the evolution. It's also nice to see familiar faces. Like it's almost like a little reunion, because there's a lot of people I don't see throughout the year, but then we come to this conference and it's like, oh hey, how's it been going?
Yeah, so that's awesome. So how would you encourage people to take the kind of the energy and the excitement of this event and bring it out into the real world to start recruiting more people into this movement?
Well, so I, in my workshop yesterday, I told folks, and Amy says it as well in her sessions, and I'm sure there's others, this is a great network opportunity. If you are just getting started, there are so many people who have already been in your shoes and could offer up advice and pay it forward. And I think that's the best thing about this conference is the network. People are all across the country. We've got a bunch of international people here. The experience just in the thousands of people that are here is amazing. And I think that taking those networks and taking them home and still keeping up with them, or calling and asking questions. Like we had a gentleman yesterday, electrical trade getting started. He's like, I don't even know, he was talking about BIM, and he was like, I don't even know where to start. And so a colleague of mine and I told him, we're like, hey, there's this great company. Here's the contact. If we see them, we'll make sure that you two connect. But it's connecting dots also. And it's the folks that are wanting to take the leap of faith but don't know how. And this is a safe place to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about construction in general is yes, there's a lot of competitiveness around, which is, I'm a super competitive guy, so I appreciate that. But
Yeah.
there's also this willing to help others come along and by kind of enabling and connecting those dots for others.
Right.
It raises the whole industry
It does.
across the board. And I think that there's an openness and a willingness here in the industry to make that happen, which
for
is
sure. And then
awesome.
some of our client programs that we have a contractor network that we have to work together and we have to share lessons learned because the client is asking us to.
Right.
And so it is that lowering of the silos within the GC and trade network, and it's like, oh, you can't keep all your little secrets, and you have to share.
Right.
But again, that goes back to how the information is used after it's shared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It will either excel or it won't work.
Right. What do you think is one of the biggest trends around modular coming into this year that maybe people aren't thinking about just yet?
That's a good one. Modular is definitely a hot topic at the moment. I think it's the how do you execute. I think there's a lot of people that are already doing modular. I know heavy timber wood frame construction. Those folks are already off and going in modular. I think from a other market sector, maybe some steel construction, concrete, however that is used. I think that there's some hesitancy about. There's a lot of conversations about cost. Like prefab is not, and modularization is not here to save you per se money on your initial investment.
Right.
It might help you with your schedule, and then therefore if you shave time off your schedule, then it equals money. Like it's all about perception of how you look at it. But I think there's some hesitancy about that upfront initial cost investment. Because sometimes people are looking at just the dollars, and it's like you got to look at the over-encompassing thing.
Right.
So if I can
and look at the long-term view of that. Yeah.
Right. Like I was, there's a couple of vendors that I've been talking to that, yes, their product may be a little bit more expensive, but your replacement cost of your life cycle is not going to be what you think it is, because their product will last longer because of the way it's built. And it's not built in the field, it's built in a warehouse. And so that's scary to people because it's uncharted waters.
Right.
It's like people have a comfort place, and if they step out of their comfort zone, it's like, whoa, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, and it's a different mindset too, because you're not project-based then. You're just kind of long-term business based on it. So you're not assigning the cost to an individual project when you're bringing in modular, because you're going to start getting more learnings and picking up the steam and finding those efficiencies. The more you do it, your first investment, you're probably going to, it's going to be really expensive, and it's not going to go super great. You're going to learn a lot from it.
And sometimes it is a premium, but sometimes it's cost neutral. Like it's the same, but because it's a different application, it may not. It's like, well, I don't know about that. That's not the way we've always done it. And I think that if you look at that long-term effect, I think it starts to kind of paint a different picture. But it's some of these people are like, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it mentality, or this is the way we've always done it. And it's like, we have to get away from that.
Right. Yeah. So one of the lines that Amy said in her keynote really struck me was the digital waste exponentially leads to the physical waste side of things.
Yes. That she said that a couple years ago, and I've actually used that in presentations I've given to architects, especially when I was on the VDC side. It's like, if we are really going to work together as a team, and our goal is to get our construction documents and our fabrication drawings done by 100% CDs, we can't duplicate on our drawings. We have to divide and conquer.
Right.
And that elimination of that digital waste. Right now, the way sometimes a project goes is the designers will draw it, issue the construction documents, and they hand over the models. Well, none of the trades can use the design models.
Right.
They literally start over and redraw the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, why on earth did we do it that way? Like, why can't we work together and break down those silos?
Yeah.
And so
it's about getting the people in the room at the front end, making sure that
that
everybody's on the same page.
And it goes back to behaviors.
Yeah.
That's what we're always going back to. So it's a work in progress, and some people, like I said, some people may never get there, but we do have some folks that are willing to try.
Mm-hmm. Nice. How does the construction industry start pulling in new, fresh blood into the industry?
Well, so we actually internally have started doing that. So,
Nice.
So the creation, we've had some new teams pop up, like our prefabrication team that I'm on.
Yeah.
That's a new one. We also have brought designers in-house. We have, I want to say we've got 12 to 15 architects that we have hired along with a national director of design. They're there to help with guiding our teams in design build scenarios or those early involvement type of projects. Also, I mean, there have been some where we have been the architect of record, and that's a new thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
We also a lot of people don't realize we have a capital arm of investments that we are able to be a client at the table, and also looking at like our self-perform efforts, like what are different skill sets that we can bring in, and that diversity of knowledge, that it's not just the superintendent and the project manager anymore. It's like we have VDC experts, we have mechanical and electrical experts, we have folks that just focus on scheduling. So you don't have to know everything. You can have resources at your disposal to help you with making your job successful.
Yeah, nice. What does innovation mean to you?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think innovation is the evolution of ever-changing mindset. I don't think it's a tool. I don't think it's a thing that you do. I think it's 100% how you think. And if you're always open to really looking at a new way of doing things or a new idea, I think that is what innovation is.
Yeah, I agree. It's totally a mindset and behavioral.
100%.
Kind of full circle.
Yeah.
Again.
It's crazy how we keep
That's
going
right.
back to that. It's all behaviors.
Yeah.
But like if you look at people that you hire, you can teach them skill sets, and I'm going to touch a little bit about this in the panel tomorrow. Is you look at skill sets and an open-mindedness of an individual. And if you have an open-minded individual, you can teach them anything because they're willing to learn and they're hungry. And it's like the book, The Ideal Team Player. That's something our company has, put out and made everybody read, like hungry, humble, and smart. Well, yeah, if you're humble and you're hungry, you're gonna excel and you're gonna learn.
Yeah,
And
I think there's great power in being willing to say, I have no idea what you just said. Tell me about it.
Right.
Teach me.
Right.
I do that all the time here.
I'm not gonna try to fake it until I make it. Like
Well,
I really.
you're going to be found out very quickly.
Oh, 100%. They're going to call you out.
And then they're going to lose respect from the rest of the team.
And then therefore the trust is
Right.
gone.
Yeah.
And trust is, and that's the conversation I have with a lot of architects in the position I'm in. I'm like, just trust me. And what's nice of coming from the design side is I get to work with a lot of my friends now.
Nice.
The friends I went to school with or old
That's awesome.
colleagues. Like I walk into a meeting and it's all folks that I know, and that's nice. It makes it fun. It doesn't feel like work anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how do people find out more information on what J.E. Dunn is doing or connect with you?
So we just launched a new webpage.
Okay.
So jedunn.com. So that's there. We're all on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm accessible through LinkedIn. If anybody's interested in learning more about what J.E. Dunn is doing from a prefabrication standpoint, or just want to pick my brain on just interactions with teams. I work with teams all across the nation. I've presented a lot to architects over the last year, just understanding, how can we work together better is really what I want to achieve with this role. Is I see the benefit, and I really would like to break down those silos and the teams where we have broken down the silos, they're fun.
Yeah.
They are fun jobs, and we still talk about them.
Right.
So it's like I ran into some colleagues earlier that I haven't seen them in about a year, but we had a really nice job together, and it's like, hey, how you doing? When's the next
you're
one
able to
coming
build
around?
those bonds deeper. Yeah.
Yeah, you
sure.
become friends at the end of it. You're not just teammates.
Right. Or looking around who to point the finger at if something goes wrong.
right.
Yeah.
100%.
Awesome. Well, final question for you. If I could give you all construction power and you could snap your fingers and innovate one thing in the industry, what would you pick to innovate?
Ooh, what would I pick to innovate? I think it is a way to share ideas better. I think we don't, as an industry and as companies, do a very good job of capturing how we learn and how we don't reinvent the wheel from job to job. I am struggling with that right now. I've got an arsenal of lessons learned, but the distribution of data and how to get that out to the masses, I think, is a struggle. And so if there was a way to innovate to make that easier, I think that would be great.
Yeah, no, that's huge, because it's human nature, not just in construction, but we tend to hold the information close to us, and, or even just not even take time to debrief after the project with everybody and kind of crowdsource the lessons learned there, and we just keep it in our own head. Yeah,
I've got a meeting with our marketing department next week, actually, to talk about how can we capture at least the prefab and the modularization components to projects better, and videos and photos, and those are the stories that we use to tell to go in the next job. And if we're not capturing them, we have nothing to go sell, because we can't keep talking about the job 5 years ago. We got to keep doing this, and we need to really concentrate on it. Yeah, I love that you're doing that. It's a soapbox. I won't get on to it too much right now, but I think there's a huge marketing problem in construction. That we don't tell the story. We don't put out those videos, and we're like, no, we can't. We got to keep them, or people just don't even think about it to even take the videos. So 100%. Awesome job of taking the videos and being willing to share it out there, because that's huge. Yeah. People are defining what construction is that are outside of construction and have no idea what's happening in the space. Yeah, and now with the capabilities of the iPhone now, like the cameras are great. Just if you got your phone on you, snap a quick video, send it to me. Like, let's do something with it. And that, I mean, share it on social media. Like, we have so many technology platforms available to us now that we shouldn't hold back from sharing. Yeah, well, it kind of goes to in a different way, the expected experience of in our daily personal lives. We're doing that anyway. Oh, 100%. Why not bring that into construction and share what's happening? Yeah, I completely agree. Well, Sara, thanks so much for taking the time. Absolutely. Enjoy the conversation. Thanks for having me. 100%. Awesome.